You can't talk about American history without including education. For decades, Mississippi struggled in this area. Today, it's a much different story, not only for elementary and secondary education, but for colleges as well. You're about to hear how community colleges have played an important role in Mississippi history. We often hear education is the foundation of success. For thousands in Mississippi, a community college afforded them that opportunity.
I often say that we can put a person in the position to be successful no matter their academic background. So if they're willing to put in the time and the effort.
I think our country, even though we're in some difficult times right now, and I think it's hard sometimes for people to bridge those gaps, I know education can do that. It's one of those things that helps level the playing field. And so we want to be at the forefront of helping that happen.
And Mississippi has been at the forefront, helping lay a foundation for the rest of the country.
We have a proud, storied history in Mississippi with our community college system. Our system goes back 100 plus years. It's the oldest recognized system in the nation.
Dr. Stephen Basic, the president of Hinds Community College, says their growth throughout history has been remarkable.
If you go back to the 19th century before in the United States, what you really had was a lot of apprenticeships, father teaching son and mother teaching daughter and so forth. But in the 20th century, really moved more into this higher education model of offering this vocational education. By the late 60s and early 70s, Hinds as an institution really begins to proliferate. That's demand, much brought on by the baby boom following World War II. We began to grow and try to fill that need.
Schools like Hinds Community College also filled a need for many who may not have had the money to attend a four-year institution.
We've had governors who've come through here, multiple doctors and attorneys and engineers, people who have really helped to build this state.
Kel Smith, the executive director of the Mississippi Community College Board, says in 1922, between the Hinds and Pearl River campuses, there were only about 50 students. Fast forward to today, he says they're educating and training more than 100,000 students each year. Smith says that's not only showing their historical relevance, but it's a nod to the future.
96% of our students are Mississippi residents. So when you talk about Mississippi Community College students, I mean, these are the folks that are going to be the future of our state's economy.
With roots dating back to the early 1900s, Mississippi's 15 community colleges have solidified their spot in state history and America's history. It's something educational leaders are proud of.
As we look at America 250, one thing that's important about community college and junior college, that we used to call them, is that they are a very democratic institution. Everyone has an opportunity at a community college.
We started, with these small, humble beginnings, and we've evolved into dynamic institutions across the state that are very insightful in the programs that they offer.
Now and in the years to come. Hinds Community College has taught hundreds of nurses who've made the medical field their career. Mississippi's medical industry has contributed to America's health system in some extraordinary ways, from medical breakthroughs to landmark court cases to research that made national headlines. 16 WAPT's Omasei Ighodaro takes a look at Mississippi's contributions that changed the country forever.
Some of the most significant moments in modern medical history happened in Mississippi. In 1963, at what is now UMMC, Dr. James Hardy performed the world's first human lung transplant. 1 year later, he led the world's first heart transplant using a chimpanzee heart.
Without that foundation of surgical education and research and dedication, we wouldn't be where we are today. And someone set the tone, and that was him.
Dr. Christopher Anderson now serves as chair of surgery.
You have to realize that was the first. And there was a proofing concept and lessons learned.
For some physicians, Hardy, who was also president of the American Surgical Association, isn't just a historic figure, he's someone they knew. Dr. Mark Mitchell arrived at UMMC as a surgical resident in the late 1980s. He worked alongside Hardy.
When you told somebody you were from Mississippi, then first thing out of their mouth was, "Do you know Dr. Hardy?"
Mitchell says Hardy inspired generations of surgeons to think bigger.
I remember one time we were talking about a patient, and it was a complicated patient and had a very difficult high-risk operation. And at the end, I said, and the patient did amazingly well after surgery. And Dr. Hardy looked at me and he said, "Mark, Don't be amazed when you get the results you intended.
Hardy's work is only one chapter in Mississippi's medical story. UMMC was also home to renowned psychologist Dr. Arthur Guyton, whose textbook remains one of the most influential medical texts in the world and is still used by medical students decades after it was first published. In 2013, Mississippi again drew international attention when doctors reported what became known as the Mississippi baby case. A child born with HIV showed no detectable signs of the virus after receiving aggressive treatment shortly after birth. While the child later tested positive for HIV again, researchers say the case provided critical insight into how early treatment may affect the virus. It remains an important milestone in the search for better treatments and a cure. Mississippi's impact on medicine has extended beyond hospitals and laboratories. In 2018, Mississippi passed a law banning most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. The challenge to that law became the case known as Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. In 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, making Mississippi the center of one of the most significant healthcare and legal debates in modern American history. Mississippi law allows abortions in cases of rape, though access remains limited. From pioneering transplant surgeries to groundbreaking research in court cases that changed national policies, Mississippi's medical legacy reaches far beyond its border.
The state was also among the early leaders in newborn screening programs, helping identify serious medical conditions in infants and improving health outcomes for generations of children. They played the game during a time of segregation that helped change America's pastime forever. How Mississippi's Negro League players left their mark on baseball and helped pave the way for future generations. And the Delta Dreamer, a boy chasing frogs along a Mississippi creek, grew up to create some of the most recognizable characters in the world. Megan West is back with some of Mississippi's biggest moments on the big screen.
Welcome back. Lights, legacy, action. From the Delta to the big screen, Mississippi isn't just a backdrop, it's a star. I'm in Clarksdale, where the movie Sinners was set. The movie was nominated for 16 Oscars. It's the most of any film in history, and filmmakers keep coming here. This is a place that helps tell America's story 250 years in the making. Ross Adams shows us Mississippi on the big screen.
Island Field, which takes place towards the end.
The bright lights of Hollywood have been shining bright in Mississippi for well over 100 years. Records show the first movie filmed in Mississippi was a 1914 feature called A Gentleman from Mississippi, about a senator who goes to Washington, D.C. to find out how politics really works.
Action, Maria.
Since then, there have been dozens of movies shot at different locations across Jackson, the Delta, and in small rural communities that focus on the good, the bad, and the ugly.
You know, there are some people that would say, I don't want a film like Mississippi Burning made in Mississippi. I don't like that history.
Nina Parikh is director of Film Mississippi, the state's official film office. It has a bookshelf filled with scripts of major movies that made it to the silver screen from right here in the Magnolia State.
And our thought is, like, if we can bring those things to Mississippi, we have a better opportunity of changing the minds of what Mississippi actually is, you know, from the ground.
Film Mississippi's website shows decade by decade the number of TV shows, documentaries, and feature films made in Mississippi.
We have a pretty great history of films about Mississippi or Mississippi content actually being made here.
Some of the biggest movies made in Mississippi are based on gripping historical events like Ghost of Mississippi.
Hey, Abilene. Hey, Manny.
And then there's The Help, based on Catherine Stockett's popular novel about a 1960s group of African-American Jackson maids working in white households.
And that was very important for that to be told here by a Mississippian, because there are so many nuances to that story.
Take the law into their own hands, no matter what the circumstance.
The 1990s appear to have been a high watermark for movies made in Mississippi. That decade, films based on books by John Grisham, The Client, The Chamber, and A Time to Kill, which was filmed in the city of Canton with the old Madison County Courthouse on the square as a backdrop.
The location was just masterful. for this film and became masterful for every film pretty much afterwards. Right after that, of course, we had My Dog Skip, which was Willie Morris. And then we had Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Those three movies, of course, brought on for us a true education in what it takes to attract film and be sustainable with it.
No man is above the law.
In 1996, Ghosts of Mississippi was shot at the Hinds County Courthouse in downtown Jackson. The drama features Whoopi Goldberg and Alec Baldwin portraying District Attorney Bobby DeLauder bringing to justice the white supremacist who assassinated civil rights icon Medgar Evers decades after Evers was gunned down at his home in 1963.
Who's never gonna be free?
One of the biggest, most talked about films about Mississippi was actually filmed in Louisiana.
Yeah, Sinners was not made in Mississippi, but when you see the film, it starts with a title at the bottom that says Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Farik believes those words on the screen will draw fans of Sinners to Clarksdale.
Now you have a very successful film, 16 Oscar nominations. People want to go to this place, and our state is going to benefit from that for a long time. And I thank those producers for calling out a real place.
That's what filmmakers love. They love to see what is there for them to put on the big screen. What will look best on the big screen?
How long you been in Mississippi?
3 years. Before that,
I think a movie that stands the test of time is one that might be surprising. And that would be Mississippi Masala, which is made by a female Indian director.
Mississippi Masala was shot in Greenwood in 1990. It features a young Denzel Washington who's in an interracial relationship with the daughter of an Indian family who owns a motel in the Delta.
The story of that relationship and how an Indian family is living in Mississippi, in the South, in the Delta, and how all of those relationships happen and evolve, I think is a really interesting look at Mississippi.
We all know the Mississippi Delta is the birthplace of the blues, but it's also the birthplace of the Muppets. Muppet creator Jim Henson was born in Greenville and spent his childhood here in Leland, where the flora and the fauna and friends inspired Kermit and a whole universe of characters. We visited the birthplace of the frog to find out how Kermit came to be in Mississippi.
It's time to play the music. It's time to light the light.
Driving into Leland, it's clear you're in Kermit country. The Jim Henson Delta Boyhood exhibit is small, but what it lacks in size, it makes up for in memorabilia.
There were people from all over the world coming here.
Mary Schaefer Boltler loves Leland and sharing what she's learned about its most famous son. She didn't know Jim Henson as a child, but her first husband, the late Sammy Schaefer, knew him well.
It's a great group of boys in these pictures, and it's the reason they're all boys in the pictures because it was a Cub Scout troop.
Boltler is an archivist of sorts, helping keep up with and organize pieces of Henson's Mississippi history. She says it's easy to see how his childhood in Leland sparked his creative genius.
The Mississippi Delta is kind of a magical place anyway. And of course, those children in those days, we all grew up playing on the banks of Deer Creek.
Deer Creek runs through Leland. It's filled with snakes and the frogs, believed to be the inspiration for Henson's most famous character. Boltler says Henson grew up chasing frogs along the creek with this group of boys, including one boy named Kermit.
Kermit denied for years that he was named for Kermit until Jim came out one time and said, yes, I had a boyhood friend named Kermit, and I always loved the name.
Henson left Leland when he was 12, grew up, began his television career in Maryland.
I never tasted it.
And watched it explode. It wasn't until years later, after her husband passed, Boltler learned the famous Sesame Street, the Muppets, were all created by Leland's own.
We didn't know who was producing Sesame Street. And then when we heard the name Jim Henson, good many years later, we put two and two together, and then we found out that's our Jim Henson.
In preparation for Leland's centennial in 1986, Butler called Henson's office to invite him and got his personal number.
Welcome to the wild world.
She says he told her he wished he could be there, but he was in London filming a Muppet movie at the time. But he sent a video in character.
He said, "Hi, I'm Kermit the Frog here. I was born in a swamp in Mississippi." And we loved that part of it because that gave credits to the thing that we say Kermit was born in Deer Creek.
Henson died in 1990, before the opening of this museum in 1991. But his wife and some children visited, sent a real Muppet, other items, and pictures for display. Heather Nowell is the general manager.
It's so neat that we get people in here from all over the world. Jim Henson and his Muppets and Gelflings and Fraggles and everything else. They're world famous.
Michael Ray stopped by on his way to Texas from South Carolina.
Do you have a favorite Muppet?
Yes.
Who is it?
Dr. T.
I feel like you don't hear that all the time. Tell us why.
I just like his character, the way that he was portrayed, and I love music, and he's the head musician of the band.
As for Mary's favorite Muppet,
if you walk in my house, Kermit's in almost every room.
In 2011, Leland leaders renamed the bridge over Deer Creek the Rainbow Connection Bridge, where Kermit sings his famous song.
Someday we'll find it, the Rainbow Connection.
A nod to the spot where a creative Mississippi boy once chased frogs and dreamed. More than movies, Mississippi is music's birthplace. Clarksdale isn't just a backdrop for the big screen, it's ground zero for the sound that shaped America. Right here at the Devil's Crossroads, where Robert Johnson is said to have sold his soul to the devil, the blues took root and sparked country and rock. Brooklyn Joyner shows us how Mississippi changed music forever.
Welcome to Mississippi. It's known as the birthplace of America's music, from blues to country to rock and roll. It's all on display inside the two Mississippi museums in Jackson.
There's so much we can talk about, but only so much space.
Memorabilia of blues pioneers like Ike Turner's guitar and B.B. King's performance jacket, or opera singer Leontyne Price's record all tell a story.
She's the first African-American opera singer to kind of have the, international success in opera.
And Elvis Presley's bathrobe when he had a chance to strip off his twinkling jumpsuits.
To have something like from his daily life, I think it brings, a lot of humanity to him.
The shaping of the King of Rock started in Tupelo as he sat on a milk crate with his guitar, praying one day to be a famous musician.
Elvis first performed in the fairgrounds when he was 10 years old. Of course, he wasn't doing rock and roll, but he absorbed all of these sounds from different genres of music.
Eventually breaking into global stardom by the 1950s with songs like Heartbreak Hotel and Love Me Tender.
I mean, you're in an era where musicians like Frank Sinatra were kind of stayed in one spot and sang, or they moved a little. But Elvis came on stage with his gyrations and his fancy foot movements, and I mean, he was a show.
Presley's artistry was shaped by gospel and blues.
The blues were born in the Delta, and they predate Elvis. Elvis was just the bridge that brought some sounds together that had pretty well been segregated.
Got me working overtime every day.
I'm probably the oldest blues man maybe in the world. Surely I'm the oldest one in Mississippi.
One of the last living legends of blues music is Bobby Rush.
She left me for the garbage man,
who once performed alongside B.B. King, Howling Wolf, and Muddy Waters. They all pushed a rural style of music that captured suffering and hope with acoustic guitars, pianos, and harmonicas.
If you don't like the blues, you probably don't like your mama.
Blues started inside small juke joints in the South, but its influence came from the church.
The blues and gospel are usually in that order. It's the root of all music
Adorned in red, white, and blue robes, this group is known as America's Choir, the Mississippi Mass Choir.
And gospel music has always been the music that has given us hope. I mean, even when you go back to, to the time we were sharecropping.
Jerry Mannery, the executive director, says he originally started out as a songwriter for the group.
And I had no idea, the first song of mine that was recorded by the choir was a song called "It Wasn't the Nails That Held Him to the Cross." And so, I mean, that's an Easter staple.
The 215-member choir started back in 1988. Their first album was #1 for more than 48 consecutive weeks. They have gone on to win numerous awards, including Grammys, Stellars, and Billboards. It's talent that cannot be ignored by Mississippi's rising artists, like soul singer Kirby.
I just think growing up in the church and loving that foot-stomping, hymnal, gospel, that raw type of music, I mean, I try to put that in everything that I do.
And the country group, the band Perry.
My background comes from rock and roll to worship music. So I think that is the through line through all that is country music, and I think that's my instrumentation in the band.
Mississippi, you raised me. They hope to push forward the legacy of their predecessors who gave birth to the music that inspired them.
And I think to be authentically soulful is to touch different genres and different colors and races, because soul don't care nothing about that. Soul cares about your heart.
Barrier-breaking baseball. Before the majors changed, the Negro Leagues were already making history on and off the field. The players, the struggle, the legacy. Troy is back to share their story next.
The crack of the bat and the cheers of the crowd once told a different chapter of American history. During segregation, local black communities gathered at parks like this one to watch some of the best players in the country compete in Negro League baseball. 16 WAPT's Joe Cook looks at the athletes who left their mark on America's pastime and on American history.
Most crucial at bat of his first game. Sends it in the air to left. It is back near the wall. It is over the wall.
Baseball is the great American pastime, but you can't tell the story of baseball without the Negro Leagues, and you can't do that without Mississippi's impact on the game. Some of the best players of all time are from the Magnolia State. Starkville's own James Thomas Cool Papa Bell is regarded as the best baseball player from Mississippi. He was known for his speed. Bell once stole 175 bases in a 200-game season. Some called him the fastest baseball player to ever live. Even the legendary Olympic gold medalist Jesse Owens didn't want to race him. After 27 years of baseball, he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1974. At that time, he was just the 5th Negro League player to be inducted. The road to the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame in Jackson is named in his honor, and that path leads to other greats. Alcorn State's Bill Foster pitched the Chicago American Giants to a Negro League World title in 1926. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1996.
You gotta lock in, right? Gotta lock in. Give me 12, ready, go.
Fast forward to present day, and the legacies of players like Bell and Foster are being realized in Jackson at Smith-Will Stadium. That's where the Legacy League is being played, a developmental league where former All-Stars are teaching players how to excel on the diamond. The stadium, also called the Hank Aaron Sports Academy, pays homage to Negro League icons like Willie Mays.
Willie was aware of what we're doing here, very supportive of what we're doing. All of those guys that played in the Negro Leagues, they know Mississippi very, very well. And so seeing that we're growing the game, starting kind of back where it began in Mississippi in the South, was a big part of his initiative.
What can't be denied is that Negro League baseball welcomed all. Columbus native Trey Abbey, who played at William Carey, was blown away by his experience playing for the Hattiesburg Black Sox in the early 1990s.
It was baseball. There were people. There were probably 300 or 400 people in the stands, and the women wearing these big hats when they get out of church, blues music going on. First time I'd ever eaten a Red Hot, just all kind of things, and I fell in love with it. And from that day on, like, that's really when my baseball career started.
Milton Barnes was a huge figure in baseball in Hattiesburg. He started the Black Sox in 1941 in the Independent Negro League. It integrated in the 1980s, and that eventually led to Abby joining the team. He said it was life-changing.
But it was fun because you can kind of shape people's lives a little bit, kind of like Milton Barnes did with me. You know, he saw that I loved baseball so much, we would just sit and talk about stories about baseball. And it meant so much. I mean, it was just one of those things, you know, it's not just going out on the field playing. Like, I wanted to know the history. I wanted to know everything I could about the Black Sox.
Trey would purchase the semi-pro team from Barnes in 2003. After the torch was passed, the Black Sox went on to win 4 semi-pro national titles from 2005 to 2007. Barnes passed away in 2005 at the age of 90, but the Black Sox are still active today as a summer collegiate and developmental program. How Negro League players inspired others in the state goes beyond the game. It makes some want to dance. In 2019, Hines Community College students performed Kansas City, the story of Negro League baseball. It helped the students learn about their history in the game.
Being a part of this is just a proud feeling. And retelling the story of these legends, it makes me think at night and how important it is that you get opportunity.
Hines Community College dance director Tiffany Jefferson said at that time, it's important for people to know who played a vital role putting the spotlight on the Negro Leagues and how their perseverance led to the color barrier being broken in the major leagues.
I really wanted to talk about the Negro Leagues and understand that Jackie Robinson only played 1 year in the Negro Leagues, and for people to research who was Satchel Paige, who was Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell.
I only knew Jackie Robinson because the media really blew him up over the years, and I did not know who the other gentlemen were. But after doing my research and finding out more about them, I feel like other people should know who they were as well.
Now more than ever, people can know about Negro League stars from Mississippi and beyond in a significant way. Stats from Negro League players from 1920 to 1948 officially became a part of the Major League record books in 2024, giving players like Papa Bell and others their rightful place in the ranks of MLB history.
Some of the most recognizable products in America have roots right here in the Magnolia State. They started as simple ideas created by inventors, entrepreneurs, and visionaries who could never have imagined how far their creations would travel. Today, those products can be found in homes, stores, restaurants, and businesses across the country. 16 WAPT's Nicholas Brooks takes a look at the Mississippi creations that have become American staples.
Inside the 2 Mississippi museums, displays help piece together a larger story. Mississippi as a place where innovation took root in industries, homes, and small businesses with ideas that often reach far beyond the state lines. In the pine forests of South Mississippi, innovation was driven by necessity, especially in the timber industry.
This is a Lindsay logging wagon. It's in our industry section. And this wagon was invented by a man named John Lindsay who lived in Laurel, Mississippi, and it was patented right at the turn of the 20th century, and it just revolutionized the logging industry in Mississippi. The wagon and the way it was formed just helped people, loggers, to get all of the timber from the really swampy, marshy areas throughout the state closer to the sawmills.
In Jackson, innovation took a different form, one tied to politics and culture. After Mississippi repealed prohibition in 1965, the Sun and Sand Hotel, just blocks from the state capitol, opened one of the city's first hotel bars.
We also have a bar from the Sun and Sand restaurant in Jackson, which was an important site here in the city.
It quickly became a meeting place where lawmakers, lobbyists, and reporters gathered and where policy discussions often continued away from the Capitol floor. Mississippi also played a role in early medical innovation. Dr. George H. Teschner developed a formula that became Dr. Teschner Antiseptic while practicing medicine in Canton, Mississippi, a product that would later gain widespread use beyond the state. Some Mississippi inventions would eventually reach customers around the world. One of the best-known examples started inside Beanhorn Coca-Cola Museum in Vicksburg. In this museum, a variety of Coca-Cola bottles showcase the brand's history. But right here is where it all began. In 1894, the first Coca-Cola was bottled for sale in Vicksburg.
This building behind me was built in 1890 by the Biedenhorn family, and they came here from Germany, and they brought with them a whole family essentially, and they were candy makers. So they were making candy in this building, but they also had soda fountain.
What started as a candy shop with a soda fountain would soon lead to a major shift in how Coca-Cola was distributed.
So he bottled 2 cases of Coca-Cola in his own bottles that say Biedenhorn Candy Company on them. He sent them to Atlanta to ask for permission, and they said, yeah, you can bottle if you want to, won't amount to anything, but if you want to do it, go ahead. And of course, that's really what launched Coca-Cola, was that ability to get it anywhere, anytime, any place.
The move would help pave the way for Coca-Cola's nationwide expansion. Another everyday product also traces back to Mississippi innovation, and that's Pine Sol. It began in Jackson in 1929 when chemist Harry A. Cole developed a Pine Sol cleaning formula, an early example of Mississippi-based chemistry that would later grow into a nationally recognized household brand.
I think it shows our significance to not just the state, but also the country and the world as a whole. It shows that what was created here, what was made in Mississippi, has been shared everywhere.
From logging breakthroughs in Laurel to early bottling invention in Vicksburg and household chemistry in Jackson, Mississippi's history of invention continues to show how ideas created here went on to shape industries across the country and beyond.
250 years ago, America began as an idea that would be tested by war, changed by movements, shaped by innovation, and strengthened by generations of people determined to leave their mark. Tonight, we have seen how that story and the story of Mississippi are forever connected. The history of America can't be told without Mississippi. As we celebrate 250 years of this country, we also celebrate the people, places, and moments that helped write its story. I'm Troy Johnson. Thank you for joining us for Chronicle. This is America. This is Mississippi.